Throughout this whole process, I've been saying that whenever you come up with anything that actually fixes the problems, that is what does not pass. They'll pass anything as long as it doesn't work. They'll talk about fixing the border again and again and again, but when the chips are down, they back off. Let me tell you, we are this close. We get this barrier fixed. We get this, it'll save us so much money. It will reduce the amount of drugs and criminals that come into the country. It will make us more secure and safe from terrorists. It's going to be the end of illegality. The American people have asked for it for 30 years. It's time for the politicians to deliver once and for all, and we can do it.
And that is some of the news that's been breaking over this morning. We just spoke to the Attorney General, and joining us right now is a man who's going to have a busy and long night. It's very exciting for us and for you. Tucker Carlson's with us. Tucker Carlson Tonight. Your night starts now at 8 p.m.
Oh, yes.
So you're pumped up?
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So I guess one of the big topics this week is going to be the border wall. Will the president say shut down the government if he doesn't get the money? And, man, they got to make their case that it makes us safer. Are they doing it effectively?
Well, they've made the case so effectively that, as the Attorney General just said, nobody wants to pass it. He's absolutely right. The main problem with the border wall is that it works. And that's what its opponents fear. They're not offering up any kind of substantive or principled opposition to it. It costs too much, really? From people who don't care what anything costs? That's not a real argument. Their real problem with it is this may stop the flow of cheap labor and new voters, Democratic voters, into the country.
I think the bigger story is they want to stop President Trump. They do not want to give him a victory on something that means so much to him.
But why do they dislike Trump so much in the first place, which is interesting? I mean, you know, there are things to criticize about Donald Trump, but if you're a Democrat, Trump is the most politically moderate Republican in the history of the country. So what you really hate is the immigration stuff. That's what drives them insane, because it's a threat to their governing majority. It's a threat to their power.
Sure.
Virtually every person who comes in here illegally, if he stays long enough, will become a Democratic voter. They know that it's the future of their party. That's why their back is up against the wall, and they're so against this.
Well, you've got to wonder, though, Tucker, who's going to make the argument, look, ever since President Trump has been President Trump, illegal immigration in this country on our southern border has gone down, what, 40, 50, 60, 70%?
That's right.
Why do we need the wall?
It's a very complicated argument for Democrats to make. But if we could just agree on the principle, we'd be a lot better. And the principle is the United States, its people, its government, has a right to determine who comes here and who does not. They can't agree on that. They are very, very close, the Democratic leadership, to making an explicit argument in favor of open borders. Wow. I mean, think about that. What would happen, actually, to the country, to its labor markets, to its environment, to its culture, to its language, to its security? Exactly right, if that happened. And yet they're arguing for it. Yeah. It's an amazing moment to me.
The Attorney General said they're arguing that we can't afford it. He said we can't not afford it because we're going to save so much money in the long run if we just fork it out and build that wall. What about the Democratic strategy? Tom PEREZ, who's the DNC chair, he is attacking President Trump using profanity. Watch this and we'll get your reaction.
Right now, we have existential threats around this country. Donald Trump is the most dangerous president in American history. I'll tell you what I'd call it. I don't care, because he doesn't give a about health care. When we have the skinny budget of this president, he calls it a skinny budget. I call it something else that begins with S. And my mama taught me you shouldn't do potty talk, but I hope you don't mind, because this is a budget.
Tucker, what bothered me about that is that little girl in the background, and also that his mama tried to teach him a lesson, and he did not what his mom told him to do. But also, let me ask you this. If this were President Trump, though, I mean, he used profanity on the campaign trail.
Yeah, he did.
And everyone loved it. So what's your message? How do you feel about this?
I mean, look, I've spent my life, and I spent 25 years in a newsroom. I mean, profanity doesn't shock me. But I actually don't think you ought to use it in public. We don't use it on television. And the reason is it takes the place of words that explain more. I mean, first of all, it does lower the conversation when anyone does it, whether the president does it or the head of the DNC does it. But it's just it's in place of actually making an argument. And that's what I was really struck by in listening to PEREZ talk. He's not actually saying anything. He's saying Trump is a bad person. Okay, we've heard that before. He doesn't like you. He doesn't care about you. He's a bigot. Okay, fine, we've heard that. But why don't you make a case for your policies in opposition to his? Tell us what you're for. Tell us why it would work, why it would make us more prosperous and safer. They don't even bother because they're not sure what the answer is.
They think the answer is get people angrier. I think it would be very, counterintuitive. For example, you might not agree with Terry McAuliffe, but he was a happy guy. He would make his case. He'd be a positive interview and a challenging interview. But going screaming at people, creating more hatred, I don't think that helps the Democratic Party. Doesn't help the dialogue.
Well, it doesn't help. I think your first point is really wise. There's enough anger in the country, and anyone on either side who seeks to turn up the temperature is doing all of us a disservice. Like, where do you think this ends, by the way? When you have millions of people who are mad about politics all the time, you know, you can kind of see where that's going. It's not good. Slow down. Calm down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the consequences are bad.
People are hot over Ann Coulter. She's going to be speaking on Thursday at UC Berkeley. You know what's happened there. The schools tried to shut her down. They've invited her back. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, you have an absolute right to say what you think. I mean, that's the whole point of America. And our universities, our ruling class more broadly, doesn't believe that anymore. They don't believe in free speech. They believe in something called hate speech, which is basically anything they disagree with, and they try to ban it.
Well, Republican students are now saying we might sue if you don't allow her to come.
And they ought to. And by the way, one of the reasons the left controls every major cultural institution in America is because they've been so wildly aggressive in using the courts, in using the media, in using education to get their message across. And if the one thing conservatives can do and push back against that is say free speech is absolute. They ought to be the champions of free speech above all. So I hope, I never am for lawsuits. In this case, I am.
Well, and will she speak on the 27th? Stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, stay tuned tonight. Just 11 hours and 19 minutes from right now, Tucker Carlson takes the 8 p.m. Eastern time slot, and you've got a big cable news exclusive, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's exclusive. Yeah, we got Caitlyn Jenner on. If you guys have any questions you think I should ask, text me.
There are a million questions.
Yeah. There are a million questions.
Where do we begin?
Send me the good ones.
We will definitely be watching. All right, so you promised you're going to stay at 8 o'clock, right? I think you've done 7 o'clock, you've done 9 o'clock, you did Fox and Friends. You know the truth about life, Ainsley, which is it's never really up to you. But I'm happy to be at 8. I'll be there. Well, you've done a great job, and that's why you're getting such a big spot. So we're really proud of you. We'll all be watching tonight and supporting you.
And again, between the three of us, even at 8 o'clock, you still choose Ainsley.
You still love me more, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you know that's true.
Please.
But I love you all, sincerely. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
You need to promo it, by the way, on your Twitter page. I was going to retweet it because I thought, surely he's talking about Caitlyn. You got to put it on your Twitter page.
I'm afraid to go on Twitter. I don't have the requisite self-control. I'm not like you. Right. You know what I mean? I don't trust myself on Twitter.
I'm a lot younger than you are. I know all about social media.
If your self-esteem's a little high, just go on the mention section. They'll bring you right down.